My name is Áine Kelly and I'm the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Science Education at Trinity College Dublin, and that means that I have overall responsibility for the science degrees that we run here. The name of this initiative is BioLabPrep, and its aim is to maximise the learning opportunities that students have in the biology teaching labs by ensuring that they're fully prepared for each class. Running 3-hour lab classes is a huge investment of capital, of consumables and of time from the staff and also from the students. So it makes sense to ensure that we use the most up-to-date technologies and learning resources to ensure that students are achieving the learning outcomes of their learning activities. The key members of this initiative are the administrative and technical staff of the Biology Teaching Centre in Trinity. That is Dr. Glynis Robinson and Siobhan McBennett. Professor Kevin Devine, who's the Academic Director of the Biology Teaching Centre, and myself will ensure that there's administrative support and management support for this initiative. And of course, all of the academics who contribute learning materials to the different laboratory classes will also be involved in preparing all of the learning materials. So it truly is a collaborative effort between administrative, academic and technical staff. Biology is, at its essence, an experimental, practical subject. Students are introduced to biological concepts during their lectures, and they can gain quite a high level of knowledge by self-directed study of their lecture material. But it's really only in the laboratory that students really gain the full understanding of the material that they're learning in their textbooks and their research papers, how that actually originated experimentally. And it's the only way in which they get a full understanding of the scientific method. So the laboratory classes are key to understanding science. But the laboratory classes are a challenging environment for both the educators and the students, and there's a lot expected of the students and a lot to pack into a 3-hour class. The students need to be trained in how to undertake the techniques, they need to be trained in how to use equipment, they need to be shown how to generate data accurately, how to analyse the data, how to draw conclusions based on the data, and as well as all of that, they need to understand the concepts underlying the lab class and how that fits with their lecture material. So there's a huge onus on the student really to be prepared for the lab class. So what we have found is that preparation before the lab class is key in order that the students can get the most out of the time that they spend in the class. Most often, students are asked to prepare for the lab classes by reading the laboratory manual that contains descriptions of the equipment and of the techniques that the students are going to use. But what we find is that students often either just don't read the manual in advance, or even if they do, that they find the material too abstract and they don't fully understand what's expected of them when they come to the lab. And this is where digital resources like online videos can be really helpful. Because when students have an opportunity to literally see what's expected of them before they come to the class, and they can view that material multiple times, that means that they're really well prepared when they come to the class to start engaging with the scientific concepts straight away. And this is a real benefit both to the educators and to the students. It means that the students can get the most out of their time in the lab because they know what to expect in advance. And it means that the educators spend less time on logistics and on general housekeeping, and more time discussing the concepts with the students and ensuring that they're carrying out the work to a high standard, and also that they're ensuring that the learning outcomes are achieved. We expect this initiative to be of particular benefit to students who require additional supports. We work closely with the Disability Office in Trinity to ensure as accommodating an environment as possible for all students. Most students, or the greatest proportion of students on the autism spectrum across the college, are registered in the science courses. And for these students in particular, having a very clear picture of what's expected of them in the lab, with step-by-step instructions of all of the techniques and all of the experiments in the laboratories before they arrive, is of particular benefit to them and helps to reduce the anxiety and the stress that might otherwise be associated with the laboratory environment. A key part of the initiative will be the completion of pre-practical quizzes that the students will take, having viewed the pre-practical materials, and in this way they can test their own knowledge of the materials, of the concepts, so that they can be confident in their knowledge before they arrive at the lab. And building in this pre-practical assessment encourages engagement of the students with the material and is a form of both summative and formative assessment. It's important that this is a student-centred approach developing materials that are viewable on any digital platform or digital device that the students can view multiple times, ensuring that each student is as prepared as they can be when they arrive at the lab class. Roisin is a third-year science student who took some of the piloted lab classes last year. So Roisin, you sat some biology classes last year that had the piloted pre-practical online component. What did you think of the learning resources?
I found them very useful. I definitely found the visual aid helped me to understand more what was expected in the lab than just reading the lab manual alone.
And did you find the resources easy to access and easy to use?
Yeah, no, they're very easy to access. It was just clicking a link and I was able to watch it, no problem.
How would you compare your preparation for lab classes where you had the online component compared with those classes where you just had the lab manual as a resource?
Oh, I definitely felt more prepared going into them. I felt I understood more what was expected in the lab, and when I went in I could actually use the time to understand what we were doing rather than trying to orientate myself with all the equipment.
Did the online resources help you to make links between what you were doing in the lab and what you were learning in your lectures?
Yeah, definitely, I think so, because I had more when I understood what was expected in the lab, I used that time to actually think about the theory rather than just trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. I was actually able to try and connect everything in my mind a bit more.
Thank you very much, Roisin. This is Dr. Richard Porter, one of our academic members of staff who has piloted the use of pre-practical digital resources in some of his biochemistry labs. Richie, can you tell us your experience of developing these online digital learning resources?
Yes, I mean, we employ these pre-practical videos for many courses: scientists, medical students, radiotherapists, pharmacists. And one of the reasons was to, I suppose, encourage the students to engage with the practical before they undertook it. I mean, reading a practical manual ahead of a practical can be quite an abstract thing, whereas having a video which helps explain elements of the practical, where they see the apparatus in use and they see the apparatus they will be using, really breaks down barriers and allows them to engage with the practical in a much more engaging way.
And do the students actually engage with the pre-practical resources?
They certainly are. As I said, the pre-practical resources help overcome any inertia that they might have in reading the pre-practical manual. B, once they read it, they see the apparatus in use, and therefore when they do come along to the practical, they're less stressed and they can focus on the scientific concepts of the practical rather than any issues with using the apparatus.
Have you found any other uses for these resources apart from with the students?
Indeed, yeah. We use the video resources to train our demonstrators in the practical. So again, we have postgraduates as demonstrators, so they may come from outside this university, not be familiar with the practicals, not be familiar with apparatus. So it's a great way to teach the demonstrators as well.
And how does the assessment fit with what you're doing in the practical classes?
We usually link formative assessments or quizzes to the videos, so students can test themselves while looking at these videos or after they've looked at the videos, and they can then test themselves again after the practical. So the tests might be, matching type, complete a sentence type question, or there might be little quizzes, or there might be MCQs. We also include examples of sample calculations that would be used in the practicals. So again, they get to see ahead of time the types of calculations they would be using in that practical. Again, this is just such results in such an economic use of our time and their time.
Thank you, Richie. At the end of this project, we aim to have a full portfolio of video and other online digital materials that will complement each of our biology lab classes. We will also have a bank of MCQs that can be used to test pre-practical engagement and also can be used as both formative and summative assessment. Of course, this type of concept is also applicable to other scientific disciplines, so we will be able to share our expertise with our other science colleagues. Science really happens in the lab. And with BioLabPrep, we aim to give every student the best chance to experience the wonder of scientific discovery.